If your sleep is restless, if the atmosphere in your home feels heavy, and if your prayers seem unheard, try this. Just a little salt, a little faith, and a mighty God. Because a woman experienced a near-death encounter and met the Lord himself, who personally taught her about salt. The truth about it is far more profound than you might think. This is not superstition but faith with feet, a spiritual act rooted in scripture and tradition. So please stay with us until the end to learn how to protect yourself and your family. After hearing her story, share your thoughts on salt's meaning in the comments below, and join us in prayer for discernment. Welcome to Eternal Bible Stories, where truth transforms lives. My name is Senna, and at 65 I dwell alone in a small house nestled in Mississippi's pine-scented hills. The nights here stretch long, heavy with silence, broken only by the hum of crickets. Once, I was a pillar of faith, a Sunday school teacher whose laughter filled classrooms, but tragedy stole that light. A car accident claimed my husband James and our son Caleb, leaving my home a hollow shell. Their absence carved a void in my soul, and I turned from God, my prayers fading into bitterness. Sleep became a stranger. Nights brought an eerie unease, as if unseen presences stirred in the shadows. In restless dreams, my grandmother's face would surface, her hands scattering salt across thresholds, her voice weaving prayers I could no longer recall. Those images, blurred by time, felt like echoes of a lost world. One grey morning, I sat in my worn armchair, clutching a cold cup of coffee. A half-hearted prayer slipped from my lips, more ritual than belief. Suddenly, a searing pain gripped my chest, sharp and unyielding, pulling me into a darkness so complete it swallowed all thought. I had long braced for death, yet its abrupt arrival startled me, like a guest who knocks unannounced. The darkness parted, giving way to a light so pure it seemed to pulse with life, warm and enveloping. No grand throne or choir of angels greeted me, only Jesus, his presence a quiet flame that filled the air with unshakable peace. The scent of fresh earth and blooming jasmine curled around me, cleansing my weary soul. His face bore no trace of judgment, only a love so vast it unraveled my defenses. His eyes, deep as oceans, held every secret I had buried, every tear I had shed. His robe shimmered, woven of starlight, each thread alive with a soft glow. The air was still, yet it carried a melody, too delicate for ears but resonant in my heart. He spoke my name, Senna, his voice a river, steady and eternal, stirring a longing I had forgotten. No words were needed, his gaze pierced my heart, laying bare the lies I had embraced, the faith I had forsaken. The air grew warmer, his presence a balm, soothing wounds I had carried for decades. Through his eyes I saw my life unfold, each moment sharp and vivid. My selfishness cut like a blade, the pain I had caused others echoing as their suffering, each wound a weight on my soul. Yet his hand rested on me, light as a summer breeze, offering mercy where I expected condemnation. The ground beneath was a meadow, soft and endlessly green, dotted with flowers in colors no earthly tongue could name. Their petals glowed, releasing a fragrance of hope, the air alive with their silent song. Jesus walked beside me, his steps gentle, the meadow stretching toward a horizon of molten gold. He led me to a stream, its waters crystal clear, reflecting the sky's radiant hues. The air was cool, scented with purity, the stream's soft ripples a lullaby for my battered spirit. As I knelt, the water's touch washed away years of bitterness, leaving me renewed. The meadow teemed with life. Deer and foxes grazed in harmony, their eyes wise and serene. A doe approached, its breath warm, the air carrying its earthy scent, a reminder of creation's deep peace. Jesus smiled, his presence an anchor, preparing me for the truths he would soon reveal. He spoke again, his voice clear and resonant. Your life is not over, Senna. I have a purpose for you. The air shimmered, his words a sacred vow, binding me to a mission I could only dimly perceive. The meadow's light intensified, its fragrance urging me toward the heart of his plan. The meadow faded, and my life unfolded before me, a vast tapestry woven with threads of joy, sorrow, and choice. Jesus stood close, his presence a steady beacon, the air thick with the weight of my decisions. Each moment, from fleeting kindnesses to grievous errors, was laid bare, connected by a single thread, John 3:16. I saw myself in the years after James and Caleb's death. My heart hardened, my back turned to God. Each refusal of his love was a wound, moments where I ignored his gentle call, choosing anger and self-pity instead. The air grew heavy, scented with the bitter tang of regret, my soul aching for the chances I had squandered. Yet Jesus guided me to moments I had forgotten, small acts of grace that had rippled through others' lives. A kind word to a struggling student, a meal shared with a lonely neighbor, each gesture a seed of his love. The air lightened, warmed by their quiet impact, though my failures still loomed, their shadows long and unyielding. He showed me times I had preached his word with fervor but without compassion, my words sharp, my heart closed. I saw a young woman in my Sunday school class, her eyes dimming as my rigid rules overshadowed grace. The air cooled, the meadow's fragrance faint, as I felt the harm my harshness had wrought. My faith, I realized, had often been a hollow ritual, a shadow of his truth. John 3:16 glowed in the air, its words pulsing with life, a promise of salvation and a call to live with purpose. Jesus' voice was gentle yet firm. This is not merely a gift, sinner, but a command to walk in obedience. The air thrummed with hope, urging me to reclaim his love and live it fully. I yearned to rewrite my past, to soften the edges of my mistakes, but his touch was steady, guiding me toward a future yet unwritten. He showed me glimpses of what could be, a life of renewed faith, a home filled with his presence, a community touched by his truth. The meadow reappeared, its flowers swaying, their fragrance a vow of redemption. Jesus held a single grain of salt, its crystal catching the light, small yet radiant. The air stilled as he spoke of its meaning, a symbol of his eternal covenant. Salt is not mere tradition, Sena, he said, but a sign of faith that invites my presence. The meadow's peace anchored me, preparing me for the visions to come. The stream's song swelled, its waters reflecting his truth, the air alive with purpose. My life was a canvas, half finished, and he offered me time to paint it with courage and grace. The meadow's light was unwavering, urging me to carry his message back to a world in need. As we walked, he spoke of my grandmother, her hands scattering salt, her prayers a shield. I saw her home, a haven of peace, its air clean and light, a testament to her trust. Her legacy was my calling, a bridge between past and future, urging me to embrace the mission he had set before me. The meadow dissolved, and I stood before ancient altars, their stones smoothed by time, salt scattered across their surfaces. Jesus walked beside me, his presence a quiet fire, the air thick with the scent of incense and sacred offerings. He spoke of salt's role in Scripture, a symbol of purity, promise, and unbreakable covenant. Leviticus 2:13 resounded, its words etched in the air, every grain offering you shall season with salt. The altars glowed, their salt a sacred bond between God and his people, the air humming with their eternal vow. Jesus' voice was clear, tinged with gentle rebuke. You taught my laws, sinner, but often forgot the salt of grace, the love that binds my truth to hearts. He led me to a doorway, not of wood but of radiant light, a threshold between the divine and the chaos beyond. The air was cool, scented with hope, the doorway pulsing with life, a gate through which his blessings flowed. Beyond it, shadows stirred, their whispers sharp and hungry, seeking to breach the sacred boundary. Jesus showed me visions of my ancestors, women of unyielding faith, scattering salt at their doors. Their voices rose, soft yet resolute, the air vibrant with their trust, proclaiming that only goodness could cross their thresholds. My grandmother's face emerged, her hands steady, her salt a silent prayer, her home a fortress of peace. The door is more than physical, Senna, he said, his words a spark in the air. It guards your home, your heart, your soul. Salt was no mere talisman but a declaration of faith, a call for his protection. The air grew warm, his presence urging me to see the threshold's power. The vision shifted, revealing homes where salt was absent. Their air was heavy, thick with strife, arguments echoing through walls, shadows lingering in corners. The stench of discord stung my senses, a stark warning of unguarded gates. Jesus' gaze was solemn, his voice a call to action. Teach them, Senna, to guard their homes with faith. He revealed 5 sacred places to place salt, each a small altar inviting his presence. The air shimmered, the doorway glowing, its light a promise of peace for those who obeyed. My grandmother's prayers echoed, their melody weaving through the vision, binding me to this truth. The altars returned, their salt a testament to his eternal covenant, the air alive with his promise. Salt is your faith in action, Senna, Jesus said, his voice urgent. It calls me to dwell where you invite me. The doorway pulsed, its light a shield, guiding me toward the first sacred place. As the vision lingered, I saw communities of old, their homes sanctified by salt and prayer, their air clean and vibrant. Children laughed, families reconciled, the weight of darkness lifted. The air urged me to carry this truth forward, to awaken others to the power of faith made tangible. The vision narrowed to a weathered wooden door, its grain etched by years, standing resolute against a stormy world. Jesus pointed, his hand steady, the air thick with the scent of rain and quiet hope. The door was more than an entrance. It was a sacred boundary, the beginning and end of every journey, a gate between the world and the sanctuary within. He spoke of Psalm 91, its promise of divine protection ringing through the air. He will cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you will find refuge. No plague or terror could breach a home guarded by faith, the door a shield against the darkness beyond. The air was clean, its purity urging me to trust his covering. Isaiah 54:17 glowed before me, its words a fortress, no weapon formed against you shall prosper. The door stood unyielding, the air vibrant with God's justice, blocking every scheme of evil. Jesus' voice was firm, a command that stirred my soul. Claim this promise for your home, Senna, and hold fast to it. Deuteronomy 28:6 followed, its blessing warm and sure. You will be blessed when you come in and blessed when you go. Each step across the threshold could carry his favor, the door a portal of grace. The air pulsed with possibility, urging me to sanctify it with salt and prayer. I saw my grandmother at her own door, her hands scattering salt, her prayers a soft melody. The air around her home was light, the stench of fear banished, only peace crossing her threshold. Her faith was a beacon, urging me to follow her example, to make my door a gate for his blessings. The door glowed, its wood alive with a soft radiance, the air scented with cedar and promise. Jesus instructed, place salt here, Senna, and pray for my peace to reign over all who enter. The air was vibrant, his words a call to consecrate my home's entrance, to make it a stronghold of faith. The vision darkened, showing homes without salt, their doors ajar, shadows slipping through unseen. Families argued, their voices sharp, the air heavy with discord, the stench of unrest thick. It was a warning, a call to guard the gate lest darkness take root. The air urged me to act, to share this truth with others. The scene widened, revealing neighbors blessing their doors, their salt a quiet vow, their prayers rising like incense. Peace settled over their homes, arguments softened, the air clean with hope. A community bound by faith emerged, their thresholds shielded, their lives transformed. Jesus' presence was steady, urging me to spread this message. The door stood tall, its light a beacon, the air alive with God's promise. Salt was my offering, a tangible sign of trust, urging me to pray with boldness. The vision became my mission, to call others to sanctify their thresholds, to make every entrance a gate for his grace. As the vision faded, I saw my own front door weathered and familiar, waiting for my faith to awaken. The air stirred, whispering of the peace that could reign if I obeyed. Jesus' words echoed, a charge to begin here, at the boundary of my home, and to carry this truth to the world. The door dissolved, and I found myself in a home's quiet corners, their shadows deep, holding the weight of unspoken pain. Jesus led me through rooms, his light piercing the darkness, the air thick with the scent of forgotten sorrows. Corners were more than mere spaces, they were sanctuaries for hurt, unseen but heavy, yearning for his healing touch. I do not overlook the hidden, Senna, he said, his voice soft yet piercing. I see every corner, and I bring healing to all. The air was cool, scented with mercy, the shadows softening under his gaze. Each corner held memories, grief buried beneath years of silence, their weight a burden on the home spirit. I saw my own corners, where anger had lingered after James and Caleb's death. The air was stale, thick with regret, echoes of arguments clinging to the walls, their venom sharp. The stench of bitterness stung my heart, a call to cleanse what I had ignored. Jesus' presence was a balm, urging me to act, to bring his light to these hidden places. He instructed, place salt in every corner, Sana, and pray for my cleansing. The air shimmered, the corners glowing faintly, their shadows retreating under his radiant light. Salt was a purifier, a sign of faith, inviting his healing into the deepest recesses of a home. The vision shifted, showing my grandmother, her hands scattering salt in the corners of her home, her prayers a gentle melody. The air around her lightened, peace settling like a soft blanket, the stench of discord fading. Her home was a haven, its corners sanctified, her faith a guide for my own journey. Rooms appeared before me, each corner distinct yet bound by pain, a bedroom heavy with loneliness, a living room tense with unspoken grudges, a bathroom where silent tears had fallen. The air was thick, their sorrow tangible, the salt a call to restore what had been broken. Jesus' voice was gentle, a promise, sanctify these places, Sana, and I will dwell within them. I saw families blessing their corners, their salt a quiet vow, their prayers rising like a chorus. Peace spread through their homes, shadows fled, the air clean with hope. Laughter returned, wounds softened, the home renewed by the power of faith. The vision was a call, urging me to teach others to cleanse their hidden places. The corners glowed, their light soft but steady, the air vibrant with God's presence. Salt was my offering, a sign of trust, urging me to pray with courage. The vision was my mission, to call others to bring his light to the overlooked spaces of their lives. As we lingered, Jesus showed me a child's corner, where fears had taken root after harsh words overheard. A mother scattered salt there, her prayers a whisper, and the air cleared. The child's heart eased. The scene stirred my soul, reminding me of Caleb's room, now empty, and the corners I had left unguarded. The air urged me to begin anew, to sanctify my home and share this truth with others. The corners faded and a bed appeared, its sheets soft, yet its shadows deep and restless. Jesus stood beside me, his presence a shield, the air thick with the scent of fear and unspoken dread. Night was a battlefield, where souls faced nightmares and silent terrors, where vulnerability lay exposed. Under the bed, Sana, is where your soul is most open to attack, he said, his voice steady, cutting through the air's heavy sorrow. The shadows stirred, alive with unseen threats, the darkness a veil for fear that needed his light. The air was cool, urging me to see the night's hidden power. I saw myself sleepless in the years after my loss, the air thick with grief. Nightmares haunted me, their claws sharp, the stench of despair clinging to my rest. The vision was a call to guard my sleep, to reclaim the night for his peace. Jesus' gaze was unwavering, urging me to trust his protection. He showed me a child, her eyes wide in the dark, fear gripping her heart after hearing her parents' arguments. The air was stale, her terror palpable, a reminder of how deeply the night could wound. My grandmother appeared, scattering salt under the child's bed, her prayers a shield. The air lightened, peace settling, the child's breathing slowing into calm sleep. Jesus instructed, place salt under the bed, Sana, and pray for my peace to guard the night. The air shimmered, the shadows retreating, the bed transformed into a sanctuary under his care. Salt was a vow, a call for his angels to stand watch, a sign of faith that banished fear. The vision widened, showing families blessing their beds, their salt a quiet offering, their prayers a soft chorus. The air cleared, nightmares faded, the stench of fear replaced by the fragrance of peace. Children slept soundly, adults rested deeply, the night reclaimed for his presence. Jesus' presence was a fire, urging me to share this truth. I saw my own bed, its shadows heavy, the air thick with unrest from years of grief. Salt was my answer, a sign of trust, urging me to pray with boldness. The vision was my mission, to teach others to guard their rest, to make the night a time of renewal rather than dread. The bed glowed, its light soft but radiant, the air vibrant with God's promise. Salt was my offering, a call for his presence, urging me to act with faith. The vision was clear, binding me to this sacred task, a call to sanctify the places where souls are most vulnerable. As the scene lingered, I saw a young couple, their marriage strained, their nights filled with tension. They placed salt under their bed, praying together, and the air shifted, their hearts softening, their sleep restored. The vision stirred my resolve, reminding me of the power of small acts to heal great wounds. The bed faded, and a kitchen appeared, its counters worn, its air heavy with the echoes of harsh words. Jesus led me inside, his light warm and steady, the air thick with the scent of burnt bread and lingering regret. The kitchen was the heart of a home, where love and pain collided, where words could build or break. Words spoken here, Sina, can wound deeply or heal profoundly, he said, his voice gentle but firm. The air was heavy, voices lingering, their venom sharp, a call to cleanse what had been defiled. I saw my own kitchen, where anger had flared after my loss, my words cutting those I loved, the stench of discord thick, my soul aching with remorse. A vision unfolded, showing families at their tables, their words like knives carving wounds in tender hearts. Children sat silent, their eyes downcast, the air stale with resentment, the stench of hurt pervasive. It was a warning, a call to restore the kitchen as a place of love. Jesus' gaze was tender, urging me to act, to bring his peace to this sacred space. He pointed to a jar of salt, its crystals glinting in the light, the air alive with its quiet promise. Salt was once as precious as gold, Senna, traded for life itself, he said. The air shimmered, urging me to use it to season not just food but the words and hearts of those who gathered here. Jesus instructed, place salt in the kitchen, Sina, and pray for words that heal. The air lightened, the kitchen glowing faintly, its pain softening under his care. Salt was a purifier, a sign of faith, inviting his peace to reign where strife had ruled. I saw my grandmother, her salt scattered on her counter, her prayers a soft melody. The air around her kitchen was clean, peace settling like a warm embrace, the stench of anger fading. Her home was a haven, her faith a guide, urging me to follow her example. Families appeared, blessing their kitchens, their salt a quiet vow, their prayers rising like steam from a shared meal. Peace spread, harsh words softened, laughter returned, the air vibrant with hope. The kitchen became a place of healing, a heart renewed by faith. Jesus' presence was steady, urging me to share this truth. The kitchen glowed, its light warm and inviting, the air scented with promise. Salt was my offering, a call for his presence, urging me to pray with boldness. The vision was my mission, to teach others to sanctify their kitchens, to make them places where love is spoken and lived. As the vision lingered, I saw a mother and daughter, estranged by years of misunderstanding, sitting at a salted kitchen table, their words tentative but kind. The air cleared, their bond mending, a testament to the power of faith to heal. The scene strengthened my resolve, urging me to carry this truth to every home in need. The kitchen faded, and a children's room appeared, its walls bright with color, yet heavy with silent fears. Jesus stood beside me, his light soft and comforting, the air thick with the scent of crayons and quiet loneliness. Children's hearts were tender, like soft soil, easily wounded by a single word, needing his gentle guard. Children are my most precious soil, Sina, he said, his voice tender. A harsh word can uproot their faith, but my love can restore them. The air was cool, scented with sorrow, the room's shadows stirring with the fears children carried. Their minds held pain, from arguments overheard, from silences too heavy, needing his healing touch. I saw a child, her eyes wet with tears, fearing her parents' raised voices, the air stale with her dread. Angels stood in the room's corners, their presence quiet but strong, waiting to be called. The air shimmered with their strength, Jesus' gaze urging me to act, to protect the young with faith. He instructed, place salt in the children's room, Sena, and pray for my angels to guard them. The air glowed, the room's shadows retreating, its light soft but steady. Salt was a call, a vow for their protection, inviting his presence to shield tender hearts. A mother appeared, scattering salt by her child's bed, her prayers a whisper, her faith a shield. The air lightened, peace settling, the child's fears fading, her sleep calm and deep. The vision was a call, urging me to follow her example, to sanctify the spaces where children dream. I saw my own son's room, empty now, the air heavy with the grief of his absence. Salt was my answer, a sign of faith, urging me to pray for the children of others, to guard their hearts as I could not guard Caleb's. Jesus' presence was a fire, binding me to this truth, a mission to protect the young. Families appeared, blessing their children's rooms, their salt a quiet offering, their prayers a soft lullaby. Peace spread, fears fled, the air clean with hope, the room a sanctuary for tender souls. Laughter returned, nightmares faded, the vision a call to teach this sacred act. The room glowed, its light soft and radiant, the air vibrant with God's promise. Salt was my offering, a call for His angels, urging me to pray with boldness. The vision was my mission, a vow to guard the young with faith, to make their rooms havens of His love. As the vision lingered, I saw a young boy, bullied at school, finding solace in his salted room, his prayers answered with peace. The air cleared, his heart strengthened, a reminder of the power of faith to protect the vulnerable. The scene fueled my resolve, urging me to share this truth with every parent, every home. The children's room faded, and the meadow returned, its light golden, the air thick with the fragrance of blossoms. Jesus held a grain of salt, its crystal a beacon, the air alive with its sacred meaning. Salt was no mere ritual, but faith in motion, a covenant with God, a declaration of trust. "Salt is your trust in me, sinner," He said, His voice a clarion call. "It is a silent trumpet, proclaiming your faith to the heavens." The meadow pulsed, its flowers swaying in worship, the air vibrant with the call to act. Faith was not passive, it stepped boldly into every room, every pane, with salt as its sign. Scripture glowed before me, salt's role in offerings clear, a symbol of purity and eternal promise. "It is not the salt itself, sinner," Jesus said, "but the faith behind it that calls me to dwell." The air was alive, His voice urgent, urging me to obey, to make my faith tangible. I saw homes transformed, their salt a vow, the air vibrant with peace. Strife faded, joy entered, the stench of discord banished, a testament to the power of living faith. Families reconciled, neighbors embraced, the air clean with hope, Jesus' presence a fire binding me to this mission. The meadow's stream sang, its waters clear, the air scented with promise. Each place, door, corner, bed, kitchen, children's room was an altar, a call for His presence. The air urged me to teach, to awaken others to the truth that faith, paired with action, could sanctify any space. The vision widened, showing communities blessing their homes, their salt a quiet prayer, their voices rising in unity. The air was clean, peace reigning, the stench of fear gone, a world touched by faith. Jesus' voice was clear, a charge. "This is your call, sinner, to make every home a sanctuary for me." The meadow glowed, its light eternal, the air vibrant with God's promise. Salt was my offering, a sign of trust, urging me to act with boldness. The vision was my mission, to carry this truth to the world, to make every house a home where He dwells. The meadow dissolved, and I awoke in a hospital bed, the hum of machines soft, the air sharp with antiseptic. I lay still, my heart heavy with the weight of the visions, longing for the meadow's golden light. The room was cold, but His presence lingered, a warmth in my soul, a promise that He was still near. After my release, I returned to my quiet home, its air heavy with years of grief. I scattered salt as He had taught, my prayers a quiet vow, the air stirring with hope. At first, my neighbors raised eyebrows, their skepticism palpable, but peace settled in their homes, the stench of strife fading, their lives quietly transformed. They began to share the truth, a ripple of faith spreading through our small town. My house became a haven, its air light and warm, where others felt His presence, a peace they could not name. Strangers lingered at my table, their burdens eased, their hearts softened. Salt was my offering, a sign of trust, the air vibrant with His promise. Just a little salt, a little faith, and a mighty God that was enough to make my house a home. I began to teach others, sharing the 5 sacred places, urging them to sanctify their homes with salt and prayer. Families reconciled, children slept soundly, homes once cold grew warm with His presence. The air in our community shifted, hope rising like dawn, a testament to the power of faith made visible. If your home feels restless, cold, or torn by endless arguments, the root may not lie in people but in a lack of spiritual cleansing. Take a pinch of salt, place it by your door, and pray with a sincere heart, inviting God to enter. Each act of salt is a prayer, a surrender, a call for His protection. The darkest corners, the most restless nights, the deepest wounds can be renewed when He is present. God dwells not only in churches but in every home that welcomes Him with a little salt and abundant faith. Stay tuned to Eternal Bible Stories for another testimony, where a man's 3 near-death experiences unveil chilling truths about humanity's future. Let this story linger, and let your home become a sanctuary for His love. The choices you make today will determine the fate of your soul forever. Have you ever stopped to wonder what really happens when you leave this world, especially if you choose cremation? Many believe it is a simple, practical act, a farewell to the body that frees the spirit to soar. But what if there is more to it? What if the state of your heart, not just your body, holds the key to your eternal rest? Today we bring you the heartbreaking testimony of a woman who walked the path of death, faced the truths about cremation that shook her very soul, and returned with a message that could change your life forever. This is not just a story, but a divine warning, a call to examine your heart before it is too late. Stay with us until the end, because what you are about to hear may be the voice of God Himself, urging you to rethink your life. Before we dive in, please stop for a moment to do 2 things. First, subscribe to this channel and join over 50,000 faithful souls who are searching for God's truth. Second, leave your name and city in the comments below, declaring your presence to heaven so that God can bless you right where you are. Now prepare your heart and listen to Elma Rosen's testimony. My name is Elma Rosen, an 82-year-old woman who never imagined sharing such a story with the world. I am a retired elementary school teacher, residing alone in a weathered house on the outskirts of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The creaky floors and peeling paint tell tales of years gone by, mirroring my own aging frame. Widowed for 12 years, I raised 3 children, Thomas, Clara, and Daniel, with love and care. Their bonds, once strong, have frayed over time, with Thomas and Daniel now estranged due to unresolved grievances. For months, I guarded the memory of that pivotal day, not out of fear, but because words seemed inadequate to describe an experience that upended my understanding of existence. My life once brimmed with the laughter of schoolchildren filling my classroom. Family dinners warmed our home, and Henry's quiet love anchored our heart. Those days, vibrant with purpose, now feel like distant echoes of a life I cherished. In recent years, illness has shadowed my every step, becoming an unwelcome companion. Rheumatoid arthritis has gnarled my joints, turning simple tasks into painful struggles. A failing heart saps my strength, each breath a reminder of my mortality. Medical treatments, from surgeries to medications, demand sums far beyond my modest pension. Doctors mentioned a heart transplant, a procedure costing hundreds of thousands of dollars. Such a dream lies far out of reach for a woman of my means. Each morning, I sensed death's presence, no longer a distant specter but a visitor lingering at my doorstep. The reality of my frailty forced me to confront my end. I began to prepare for what lay ahead, my heart heavy with the weight of finality. I drafted my will with care, sifting through faded photographs and cherished keepsakes. Each item held memories I hoped to pass on to my children. I pondered what legacy I would leave behind, what would endure after I was gone. Burial, with its costly caskets and sprawling cemetery plots, felt like an extravagance I could not justify. Cremation emerged as the practical choice, simple and affordable, sparing my children financial strain. I believed the soul held true value, not the body that housed it. Dust returns to dust, I reassured myself, clinging to scripture. I imagined my spirit rising to God, unburdened by a broken shell. Yet a quiet doubt stirred within me, whispering if it could truly be so simple. That question, unnoticed at first, would soon lead me to revelations beyond imagination. It lingered in my heart, a seed waiting to sprout. The truths I would uncover would challenge everything I held certain. When I shared my cremation decision with my children, I hoped for their support. Instead, my words ignited a storm of discord I had not anticipated. The rift that followed revealed wounds deeper than I had realized. Thomas, my eldest, rejected cremation with fierce conviction. "It's heartless, Mon," he declared, his voice sharp with judgment. He saw it as a betrayal of our family's sacred traditions. His words pierced me, echoing the values of our ancestors who honored the dead with burial. Clara, my second child, seemed to grasp my reasoning but remained silent. Her eyes betrayed her fear of challenging Thomas's authority. Daniel, my youngest, offered little input, lost in his own troubles. His detachment stung, a reminder of the distance that had grown between us. Each conversation widened the chasm in our family, leaving me questioning my choice. My granddaughter, Lily, proposed a funeral GoFundMe to fund a traditional burial. Her kindness touched me, but I recoiled at the thought of seeking charity. "Others need help more than I do," I told her firmly. I refused to take resources from those in greater need, like homeless families or struggling mothers. Cremation, I believed, was my way to depart quietly, without burdening anyone. Yet, the unease in my children's eyes told me otherwise. No one found peace in my decision, and I wondered if it would heal or haunt them. Each family discussion deepened our divide, their voices heavy with unspoken fears. My heart ached under the weight of their pain. Was I selfish for choosing cremation, prioritizing practicality over tradition? Did my choice rob my children of closure, of a place to mourn? Or were they clinging to customs that no longer served our reality? These questions gnawed at me, as relentless as the pain in my joints. They intertwined with my physical suffering, stealing sleep and peace. In the quiet of night I sought answers, unsure where they lay. I sat in my rocking chair, gazing at Pittsburgh's skyline, praying for guidance. Was I honoring my family by sparing them expense, or was I tearing them apart with my decision? The answers, I would soon discover, awaited beyond this world's veil. They lay in a realm where truth shines unhidden. My journey to those truths was about to begin. The conflict over my cremation decision revealed deeper fractures within our family. It was not merely about my final wishes, but a reflection of long-standing rifts. Each argument exposed wounds we had long ignored, threatening to unravel us. Thomas, my eldest, viewed my choice as a betrayal of our heritage. His sense of duty had always driven him to preserve family traditions. He organized reunions and tended our ancestors' graves with reverence. To him, cremation was a rejection of all he held sacred. "How will we visit you, Mon?" he asked, his voice cracking with grief. "How will we feel your presence if nothing remains?" His pain cut me deeply, a knife twisting in my heart. I longed to ease his sorrow, but burial costs were beyond my reach. A plot, headstone, and service demanded thousands I did not have. Clara, ever the peacemaker, understood my practical reasons but feared confrontation. She called me late at night, her voice soft and hesitant. "I just want what's best for you, Mom," she whispered, wary of Thomas's stubbornness. Her silence during family debates hurt more than Thomas's opposition. I knew she was torn between loyalty to me and fear of discord. Her quiet struggle mirrored my own internal conflict. Daniel, my youngest, remained absent from these discussions. His life was consumed by a failing business and a strained marriage. His detachment left me aching for the closeness we once shared. When I sought his opinion, he brushed me off. "Do what you want, Mom. It's your life," he said, his words cold. His indifference was a reminder of the gap that had grown between us. Lily, my granddaughter, shone with youthful optimism, trying to mend our divide. She researched funeral options, presenting articles on crowdfunding and affordable burials. "We can make it work, Grandma," she urged, her hope nearly infectious. Her efforts warmed my heart, But I could not ignore those in greater need. Images of homeless families and struggling mothers haunted me. I refused to divert aid from them for my sake. Cremation, I believed, was my way to exit this world without fuss or debt. Yet my children's troubled expressions told a different story. No one found solace in my decision, and doubt crept into my mind. The weight of our disagreements pressed heavily upon me. It mingled with the physical pain of my arthritis and weakened heart. Sleep eluded me, my nights restless and troubled. I spent hours in my rocking chair, staring at Pittsburgh's skyline. I prayed for clarity, seeking God's guidance. Was I honoring my family or sowing seeds of division? The answer, I would soon learn, lay beyond the veil of this world. It awaited in a place where truth cannot be concealed. My path to that truth began unexpectedly. It was a crisp October morning, the air rich with the scent of fallen leaves. I woke early, my joints stiff but my mind unusually clear. I resolved to take the trash out myself, a small act of defiance against my frailty. My old house's stairs were narrow and worn, softened by decades of footsteps. I gripped the railing, my hands trembling with effort. The trash bag swung lightly in my other hand. I reached the third step when my foot caught on a loose board. Time slowed as I lost my balance, my body tilting forward. I reached for the railing, but my fingers grasped only air. The trash bag slipped from my hand, papers scattering. I felt my head striking the hardwood floor below. A sickening thud echoed, followed by blinding pain. The pain surged, then faded into darkness. It was sudden and all-encompassing. In that moment I was no longer Elmer Rosen, no longer bound to my aching body. I was gone, my spirit released from its earthly tether. The world I knew slipped away. A new journey was about to unfold, one I could not have foreseen. A strange sensation enveloped me, a lightness, as if I had shed a burdensome cloak. I opened my eyes, not of flesh but of spirit. The scene before me halted my breath, though my heart no longer beat. There I lay, crumpled at the foot of the stairs, my body motionless. My face was pale, drained of life's warmth. The trash bag had burst, scattering papers across the worn floorboards. I longed to move, to tidy the mess, to restore order. Yet I was detached, no longer part of that physical world. My form hovered, weightless, unbound by earthly constraints. My children burst into the room, their voices a chaotic symphony of panic. Thomas dropped to his knees beside my body, his cries piercing the air. "Mom, Mom, wake up," he shouted, desperation in every word. Clara clutched my lifeless hand, her fingers trembling. She whispered prayers, her voice soft but fervent. Her faith sought to tether me to the world I had left. Lily stood frozen, her eyes wide with shock. Then she collapsed, sobbing uncontrollably. "Grandma, please don't go," she wailed, her grief raw and unfiltered. Their sorrow pierced my soul, a pain sharper than any I had known in life. I yearned to reach out, to comfort them, to dry their tears. But I was a silent witness, unable to bridge the divide. Regret flooded my heart, heavy and unrelenting. I had never told Thomas how deeply I admired his strength, despite his stubbornness. His resilience had always been my pride, yet I left it unspoken. I had not embraced Clara enough, nor urged her to voice her truth. Her quiet love deserved recognition I failed to give. My silence now felt like a wound I could not heal. Daniel, my youngest, drifted in my thoughts, our bond strained by years of distance. I had assumed time would mend our rift. Now I saw the cost of my inaction, the words I never said. Lily, my sweet granddaughter, shone with kindness that sustained me. I had not told her how her warmth lit my darkest days. Why had I held back, letting moments slip away? Why had pride or fear silenced my love? Why had I left so much unsaid? These questions swirled, each one a thorn in my soul. I drifted upward, carried by an unseen force. It drew me toward a destination I could not name. The world below faded, my family's cries growing distant. No fear gripped me, only a profound peace. It was as if I had returned home after a long, weary journey. My spirit felt light, unburdened by pain or doubt. Yet beneath that peace, a question lingered. Where was I going? Was this the end, or merely the beginning of something greater? The answer lay ahead, waiting to be unveiled. I was on the cusp of truths that would transform me. They held the power to change others as well. My journey into the unknown had begun. Each moment carried me closer to revelations. These would redefine my understanding of life and death. As I floated onward, I carried my regrets but also hope. Perhaps I could still make amends in some way. The path ahead promised answers, if I dared to seek them. When I left my broken body at the foot of the stairs, I anticipated a swift ascent into a radiant heaven. Angels would greet me, or the face of God himself would shine with eternal welcome. Yet what awaited was neither celestial splendor nor divine judgment. I found myself in a realm both intimately familiar and profoundly strange. It was a countryside that mirrored the village of my childhood with uncanny precision. Rolling hills unfolded before me, their slopes adorned with vibrant wildflowers swaying in a gentle breeze. A golden light bathed the landscape, not static but pulsing with a life of its own. The very air seemed to breathe with divine intention. The scent of fresh hay mingled with the delicate perfume of lilacs, wrapping me in a comfort I had not known since youth. In the distance, the faint laughter of children echoed, a sound so pure it stirred memories long buried. This place felt like a memory reborn, yet its vividness surpassed anything I had experienced in life. It was as though I had stepped into the heart of reality itself. I wandered forward, the grass soft and cool beneath my feet. Each step grounded me in this ethereal world. The hills seemed to hum with a quiet energy, their curves guiding my path as if they knew my destination. As I crested a gentle rise, my gaze fell upon a solitary oak tree. Its branches sprawled like arms outstretched in welcome. Beneath it stood a figure, and my heart leapt with recognition. It was Henry, my husband, as vibrant and youthful as the day we exchanged vows over half a century ago. His eyes sparkled with the warmth that had once been my refuge. His smile was a beacon in the storms of life. Yet there was a distance in his expression, a quiet knowing that tempered my joy. "Elmer," he said, his voice resonating not in my ears but deep within my soul, "you are not finished yet. Your journey has only begun." He pointed to a winding path that snaked through the hills. It disappeared into a horizon aglow with promise. I reached for him, yearning to feel his embrace, to linger in the love we had shared. But he shook his head, his gaze tender yet firm. "Not now, my love," he whispered. "There is more for you to see." My heart ached with a bittersweet longing. I was torn between the joy of seeing Henry and the sorrow of leaving him behind. Reluctantly, I turned toward the path, each step heavy with the weight of our parting. The landscape responded to my movement, its colors deepening. The air grew richer with scents of earth and bloom. The golden light seemed to dance, casting patterns that shifted with my thoughts. This world felt woven from the fabric of my soul. I walked in silence, reflecting on Henry's words. What did he mean? My journey had only begun. Had I not already lived a full life, raising children, teaching generations, loving and losing? The questions swirled unanswered. The path led me deeper into this mysterious realm. Ahead, the scenery shifted subtly, the hills giving way to a meadow. A small stream glittered under the light. By its bank stood another figure, her presence as familiar as my own heartbeat. It was my mother, her face radiant with the kindness that had defined her life. She had died when I was barely 20, taken too soon by illness. Her burial was a rushed affair that ignored her simple wishes. The memory of that loss had haunted me for decades. It was a wound I carried in silence. Now, she stood before me, her eyes filled with a love that transcended time. "Elma, my dear," she said, her voice soft yet firm. It was a melody that soothed the raw edges of my soul. "You have been carrying so much pain, so many burdens. But listen closely. What you choose for your body matters less than how you lived. It is your heart that carries you to God." Her words struck me with the clarity of a bell. Their resonance echoed through my being. I thought of my decision to be cremated, the arguments with my children. The doubts had plagued me. Had I been wrong to focus on the fate of my body? Did I believe that ashes could free my soul? My mother stepped closer, her hand finding mine, her touch warm and grounding. "Walk this path, Elma," she urged, her gaze piercing yet gentle. "See the truth for yourself." As I nodded, her form began to fade, dissolving into the golden light. Her words took root in my soul, a seed of understanding waiting to bloom. I stood by the stream, its waters murmuring secrets I could not yet decipher. I felt a shift within me. This realm was not merely a place. It was a mirror, reflecting the truths I had yet to face. Compelled by my mother's guidance, I continued along the path. The meadow gave way to a forest where ancient trees stretched toward the sky. Their leaves whispered in the breeze. Each sound was a fragment of memory, a call to look deeper. The path led me through scenes from my life, vivid and immediate. It was as if I were living them anew. I saw myself in my classroom, guiding young minds with patience. My voice was steady as I taught them to read, to dream, to believe in themselves. The children's faces glowed with curiosity. Their laughter was a melody that warmed my heart. I saw family Christmases, the flicker of candlelight on Henry's face. He carved the roast, my children's tiny hands clutching gifts wrapped in love. Those moments were threads of joy woven into the tapestry of my existence. Each one was a testament to the life I had built, yet the scenes were not all joyous. The path revealed my failures, moments I had buried beneath years of routine. I saw myself snapping at Thomas when he defied me as a teenager. My harsh words cut deeper than I intended. They left scars I never acknowledged. I saw Clara, quiet and steadfast, offering her support in subtle ways. I often overlooked her, dismissing her strength in my haste. I saw Daniel drifting away over the years. His calls went unanswered, his struggles ignored. I told myself there would be time to mend our bond. Each memory was a weight, a reminder of love withheld, of opportunities missed. Why had I let pride silence my apologies? Why had I allowed fear to keep me from reaching out? These questions pressed against my heart, their answers elusive yet urgent. The forest opened into a clearing where the golden light grew brighter. Its pulse was stronger, drawing me toward a greater truth. The boundaries of time began to dissolve. Past and present merged into a singular reality. I felt the weight of every choice I had made. Each decision was a brushstroke on the canvas of my soul. Scenes from my life swirled around me, not in sequence but in harmony. They revealed the interconnectedness of joy and sorrow, triumph and regret. I saw Thomas's stubbornness as a reflection of my own. His anger was a plea for connection I had not answered. I saw Clara's silence as a sacrifice. Her love endured, despite my neglect. I saw Daniel's distance as a wound I could have healed. Had I chosen to listen, it might have been different. Why had I held grudges, letting them fester like thorns in my heart? Why had I let fear silence the love that could have bound us closer? As I moved through this kaleidoscope of memory, the landscape grew stranger. Its edges softened, as if reality itself were bending to accommodate my journey. The trees shimmered, their forms both solid and ethereal. The air vibrated with a presence I could not name. I sensed I was no longer alone. Unseen guides watched from the shadows. Their love was a quiet force urging me forward. The path stretched on, leading me toward a light that pulsed with divine promise. Its warmth called to my soul. I longed to reach it, to bask in its embrace. I wanted to find answers to the questions that burned within me. Had I lived well? Had I loved enough? Was my heart prepared for what lay beyond? Yet, before I could touch that light, the world shifted. A subtle tremor rippled through the realm. The golden glow dimmed, and a chill crept into the air. It heralded a change I could not foresee. The path beneath my feet grew rough. The vibrant colors faded into shades of gray. I felt a pull, not gentle but insistent. It drew me away from the promise of divine truth. It led toward a realm that would test everything I believed. My heart trembled, sensing the trials ahead. Yet I knew I could not turn back. This transitional realm had shown me the beauty of my life. It revealed the pain of my failures and the power of my choices. It had prepared me, in ways I did not yet understand, for the darkness that awaited. With my mother's words echoing in my soul and Henry's love guiding my steps, I braced myself for the journey into the unknown. I was unaware that it would redefine my understanding of life, death, and eternity. The golden radiance that had enveloped me dissolved into an abyss of darkness. It was so dense it seemed to strangle my very soul. A chilling, oppressive force bore down upon me. It felt as if the weight of countless unrepented sins pressed against my spirit. The sweet fragrance of the countryside, once alive with lilacs and hope, turned acrid. It was saturated with the stench of sulfur and despair. The soft grass beneath my feet vanished. It was replaced by a jagged, treacherous surface. It seared with unbearable heat one moment and froze with bone-deep cold the next. I was no longer in the gentle realm of memory and light. I stood in a place of unimaginable torment. It was a realm I could only name as hell. This was not the hell of childhood tales. There were no cartoonish devils wielding pitchforks or lakes of fire painted in storybooks. What I encountered was far more visceral, far more terrifying. It was a reality that clawed at the core of my being. The air itself pulsed with anguish. It vibrated with a cacophony of screams, sobs, and desperate pleas for mercy. These pleas echoed without end. Souls surrounded me, not in physical form but as shadowy essences. Their spiritual presence was twisted by pain and regret. Some were engulfed in flames that burned without consuming. Their faces contorted in agony as they relived moments of cruelty, betrayal, or neglect. Others drifted in voids of utter isolation. They were severed from light, sound, or connection. Their eyes were hollowed by an eternity of remorse. I saw souls trapped in relentless cycles. They were forced to replay their worst deeds. Lies that shattered trust, words that wounded hearts, lives destroyed by selfishness. They were unable to break free from the chains of their own choices. The soundscape was a torment of its own. It was a chorus of broken hearts that had never found healing. A woman's voice pierced the air, wailing with unbearable sorrow. "I never meant to hurt her," she cried, reliving a moment of anger. It had cost her a loved one's life. Her cries were drowned by a man's anguished plea. "Why did I turn away?" he gasped, facing the consequences of greed. His actions had left others in ruin. Another soul, barely visible in the shadows, whispered softly. "I could have helped," it said, haunted by opportunities ignored. It was tormented by compassion withheld. Each voice was a thread in a tapestry of despair. This was woven from lives lived without love. They were without grace, without repentance. These souls were not prisoners of a vengeful deity. They were captives of their own making. Their torment was a mirror reflecting their choices. It showed what they had carved into their existence. As I moved through this forsaken realm, my spirit trembled under its weight. A chilling realization seized me. Some souls bore a faint mark, their forms dusted with ash. It was as if the physical act of their bodies' cremation lingered. Fear surged within me, cold and sharp. It threatened to consume my resolve. Was this my fate for choosing cremation? Had I doomed my soul by planning to reduce my body to ashes? The thought gripped my heart. I turned toward the faint light that still accompanied me. It was a presence of divine love now dimmed by the oppressive sorrow of this place. Are they here because their bodies were cremated? I asked, my voice quivering with dread. My words were barely audible amidst the cries of the lost. The answer came not in spoken words, but as a wave of undeniable truth crashed over me. It had the force of a storm breaking upon the shore. No, cremation is not a sin. These souls suffer not because of what became of their earthly vessels. They suffer because of the lives they chose to live. This was not a punishment meted out by a cruel God. It was the natural consequence of hearts unhealed, of lives unrepented. Some languished here for acts of cruelty. Their words and hands had inflicted wounds that echoed into eternity. Others were bound by greed. Their souls were weighed down by wealth hoarded while others starved. Pride had blinded them to the needs of those around them. Many suffered for indifference. Their apathy was a silent violence. It left others to perish in loneliness or despair. The most heartbreaking were those who could not forgive themselves. They were ensnared in prisons of guilt and shame. They were blind to the mercy that shimmered just beyond their reach. I paused before one soul. It was a man whose essence flickered like a dying ember. He stood frozen in a moment of rage. His hands were raised as if striking someone he loved. Over and over, he cried, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." The scene never shifted. His apology was swallowed by the unyielding truth of his actions. Each repetition deepened his anguish. His spirit was trapped in a cycle of remorse. It offered no release. Nearby, a woman clutched at empty air. Her fingers grasped for treasures she had treasured above all else. Gold, jewels, status meant nothing now. Others around her had begged for bread. Her eyes, once sharp with ambition, were now clouded with regret. Her soul mourned not the loss of wealth, but the love she had forsaken. Their torment was not fire or chains. It was the relentless clarity of eternal truth. Their choices were laid bare, their regrets inescapable. As I witnessed these scenes, a profound understanding settled within me. Hell is not a place where God casts the unworthy. It is a state we create when we turn from love. We turn from forgiveness, from the grace that calls us to rise above our flaws. These souls had not been sentenced by divine judgment. They had woven their own chains through lives lived in defiance of the light. Yet, even here, in this place of despair, a faint hope lingered. The light of divine love, though dim, had not vanished. It hovered at the edges, a quiet invitation. It called to those who might dare to see it. They could choose again to step toward redemption. But so many were blind, their hearts entangled in pain. They were convinced of their unworthiness. They could not perceive the path to freedom. My heart ached for these souls. Each one was a story of loss, of choices made and chances missed. I saw a young woman, her form barely discernible. She relived a moment of betrayal. Her words cut like knives into someone who trusted her. She wept, her tears dissolving into the darkness. She was unaware that forgiveness was possible. An older man stood alone, surrounded by shadows. He was haunted by years of silence. He withheld love from those who needed it most. His solitude was his punishment, self-imposed. It was a reflection of the walls he had built in life. I wanted to reach out, to tell them they could leave. Mercy awaited, but my voice was swallowed by the din. Could they not see the light? Could they not feel the love that still called to them? As I stood amidst this sea of torment, my thoughts turned inward. I reflected on my own life, my own choices. I saw my stubbornness with Thomas. I had dismissed his concerns about cremation. I refused to hear the fear beneath his anger. I saw my silence with Clara. I had let her fade into the background. I assumed her quiet strength needed no acknowledgement. I saw my distance from Daniel. I had let years pass without bridging the gap. I believed time would heal what I would not face. Had I been building my own hell? Was it built brick by brick, with every unforgiven slight, every unspoken truth added to it? The thought chilled me to my core. It was a stark reminder that I, too, had walked these paths. Unlike these souls, I was not yet bound. I stood at a crossroads, my spirit still free to choose. The realization kindled a fire within me. I resolved to live differently if given the chance. I would not let pride or fear silence my love. I would not let grudges fester. Forgiveness would not go unoffered. I thought of my children, their feuds, their pain. Thomas's anger was not just about cremation. It was his fear of losing me. He feared failing to honor the mother who shaped him. Clara's silence was her love. It was restrained by a desire to keep peace. It was a sacrifice I had taken for granted. Daniel's absence was not indifference. It was a struggle I had not sought to understand. Lily, my precious granddaughter, made efforts to help. Her actions were her way of holding on to me. They wove our bond into eternity. Why had I let these truths remain unspoken? Why had I allowed division to grow? Love could have flourished instead. Compassion overwhelmed me, a tidal wave that drowned my fear. I would not wish this place upon anyone, not Thomas with his unyielding heart, not Daniel with his quiet pain, not even strangers whose choices led them here. I saw their humanity, their brokenness. I wept for them, my tears a prayer for their release. This experience seared a lesson into my soul. Every thought, word, and deed shapes the eternity you inherit. Will you cling to anger, letting it fester into chains? Will you let pride blind you to others' needs? Will it forge a prison of your own design? Or will you choose love, seek forgiveness, and walk the path of grace? As I lingered in this realm, I felt a shift. A gentle pull drew me away from the darkness. The cries of the lost grew faint. The air became less heavy. It was as if I were lifted from a bottomless pit. The light of divine love, faint but unwavering, grew stronger. It guided me toward freedom. I was not afraid anymore. I was alive with purpose, a burning resolve to warn others. Your life's choices carve the path your soul will tread. Cremation or burial, these are but fleeting forms. What matters is the state of your heart before God. The true fire does not consume the body. It purifies the soul, or, if you choose poorly, consumes it in regret. As the darkness lifted, I carried a mission. It was a fire to share this truth. You are not powerless. You can choose love over hate. You can choose forgiveness over resentment, grace over pride. The souls I left behind were a warning. They were a mirror reflecting a life lived without repentance. They were also a call to action. It is never too late to change. You can turn toward the light. You can build an eternity of peace rather than pain. With this knowledge burning in my heart, I was ready to return. I would live with intention. I would guide others away from the shadows where souls linger. The return was a shock, like plunging into icy water. A gentle became a violent jolt. It forced my soul back into my frail, aching body. I awoke in the IQ, the sterile smell of antiseptic stinging my nose. Machines beeped in a relentless rhythm. My chest heaved, each breath a struggle. My joints screamed with pain. The world felt dim, a pale echo of the radiant realms I had seen. Yet a new clarity burned within me. I opened my eyes to see Thomas beside me. His hand gripped mine, his face wet with tears. "Mom, you're back," he whispered, his voice breaking. Clara stood behind him, her eyes red but steady. Lily clung to her mother, her sobs quieting. Their love surrounded me, a lifeline pulling me back to this world. The weight of what I had seen anchored me. I could no longer ignore the truths revealed. They were now a part of me. I looked at Thomas, seeing not just his stubbornness but his fear. His love shone through his hardened exterior. I saw Clara's quiet strength, her unspoken devotion. Lily's tear-streaked face reminded me of her boundless heart. In that moment I let go of burdens I had carried. It was not life I released, but pain and doubts. The conflicts with my family dissolved in the light of my lessons. Cremation was no longer about poverty or practicality. It was about freedom to release the body. My soul could soar, unburdened by earthly ties. This truth reshaped my perspective. It brought peace to my weary heart. I spoke to my family, my voice weak but steady. I shared my journey not to convince but to heal. I told them of the countryside and my mother's words. I described the torment of souls trapped by their choices. I spoke of love and forgiveness. Our hearts, not our bodies, determine our eternity. To my surprise, they listened intently. Thomas's shoulders softened, his eyes meeting mine with understanding. Clara found her voice, admitting her fears. Lily smiled through her tears. Her hand squeezed mine gently. Their openness began to mend our fractured bonds. We planned my cremation together, driven by love, not necessity. It would be a simple ceremony. It would honor a life lived fully, not a body preserved. We chose a small urn for my ashes. They would be scattered in the hills where Henry and I once walked. That place held joy and cherished memories. For the first time, we were united. Our wounds began to heal. The arguments faded, replaced by a shared purpose. We vowed to love each other deeply. We would forgive and live fully in the time left. This unity was a gift born from my journey. God granted me a few more years, each day a precious gift. I returned to my old house, but I was no longer the same Elmer. My soul was alight with purpose. The pain in my joints persisted, my heart still weak, yet my spirit burned with newfound clarity. I began sharing my story with others. First, I spoke with neighbors over coffee. Then I addressed church groups and community halls. I was no preacher or prophet, just a woman who had seen truth. I could not keep silent about what I had learned. My message was simple yet profound. Death is not the end, but a transition. Life is your chance to prepare your soul. Love fiercely, forgive freely, I urged. These choices shape your eternal journey. I spoke to young mothers and weary elders alike. What are you holding on to? I asked them. What grudges or fears keep you from God's light? I shared the torment of souls in hell, not to frighten but to warn. Your choices matter, I emphasized. Every word and act builds your eternity. Choose love, I said, for it purifies the heart. When purified, even ashes become light. This truth resonated with those who heard me. My family transformed alongside me, healing old wounds. Thomas and Daniel began mending their rift. Small gestures like phone calls and shared meals marked their progress. Clara found her courage, speaking her truth boldly. She bridged the gap between her brothers. Her strength inspired us all. Lily, moved by my story, volunteered at a hospice. She brought comfort to those nearing their end. Her compassion reflected the love I had witnessed. We were far from perfect, yet we grew. We learned to love without reservation. Forgiveness became our foundation. I lived simply, cherishing ordinary moments now sacred. The warmth of my morning coffee was a treasure. The rustle of leaves outside my window brought joy. Lily's laughter filled my heart with gratitude. I took up meditation to reconnect with divine peace. It was a practice to anchor my soul. Some days that peace felt distant, clouded by doubt or pain. In quiet moments I felt it again. That presence, that love, bound all things. I no longer feared death, having seen its truth. I had walked its paths and returned with a mission. Life became my canvas, painted with intention. I lived with gratitude for every breath. I showed kindness to every soul I met. My actions reflected the lessons I had learned. I wrote letters to my children, pouring out my heart. I expressed pride in their strength, sorrow for my failures. My love for them would never fade. I hugged them often, held Lily's hand tightly. I prayed with Clara, building memories for eternity. These moments were my legacy. My story spread, touching lives I had never met. People wrote to me, sharing fears about death. They spoke of struggles with forgiveness. I answered each letter, praying my words would guide them. Death is not to be feared, I wrote. It's a doorway, not a wall. The life you walk toward it shapes what lies beyond. This message became my mission. I sought to light the way for others. As my health declined, I faced death anew. I felt only peace, my heart free. My children were healing, my soul ready. I chose cremation, not for cost but for clarity. It symbolized my soul's release, unburdened by earthly chains. My ashes would join the wind and earth. They would rest in the hills where love had lived. I knew with unshakable certainty my spirit would rise. It would be carried by a love brighter than any fire. Elma's journey is more than a story, it's a divine wake-up call. Heaven and hell are real, not as distant realms but as states we craft through our lives. What are you building with your choices? Are you clinging to anger, pride, or are you forging a path of love and forgiveness? Elma's testimony urges us to look within, to heal your heart before it's too late. If her words stir your soul, don't turn away. Type Amen in the comments, share your city and name, and let God know you've heard His voice. Share this story, it might be the lifeline someone needs to find redemption. Next, we'll hear from a woman whose life was stolen by the one she trusted most, her husband. Her descent into the depths of hell and her miraculous return carry a message that could save your soul or condemn it. Stay with us, for these truths are too urgent to ignore.